Notice of this meeting was advertised in accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act. Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call.
Mr. Cartier?
Present.
Mr. Tompkins?
Here.
Ms. Jackson? Present. Ms. Trueblood is absent. Mr. Allen?
Present. This meeting is now called to order. Closed session resolution number 241-2016 authorizes council to go into closed session. My understanding is that there are no issues.
We do not have a closed session issue.
I have nothing, Council President.
Okay, moving on. We'll now have a presentation by Pemberton Township School Superintendent Tony Trongone of the for the Dembo Creighton School Project. Ms. Terry Maldonado, if you would please come forward.
Terry Maldonado, Pemberton Township Board Liaison. Ladies and gentlemen of the Town Council, it is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Tony Trongone, the Pemberton Township Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maldonado, and thank you to Town Council for having me here. Mr. Allen, Mr. Pinto submitted a menu of things I was going to talk about. More or less like the state of the district. One of those would be the Dembo Creighton project. So I'll begin with. And Mr. Pinto, do they have a handout?
Yes.
You all have a handout?
Yes.
It begins on the left side, so there's 3 columns. And that first column is fundamentals, and it begins with school funding. It's been well publicized that the governor, Chris Christie, wants to throw the state funding formula out the window and plans to give every school district the exact same amount of state aid per student, which is $6,599. This would amount to a $52 million cut in state aid to Pemberton schools. Our budget is currently $120 million in total. Mayor Patriarch and I attended a session at the state capitol, pleading our cause of how detrimental those cuts would be to our school district. There are other school funding plans that we heard, but none of those will be in place by February. It's the 3rd week in February where the governor gives the state of the state address, and then by law, within 48 hours later, he provides us with our state aid. We're going to look for a 3 to 5 month process where legislators will battle to restore the funding to provide our district and others with the funding to satisfy a thorough and efficient education. So that'll be one stream through the legislation. The other will be through the Ed Law Center, an advocate for school districts, and they will also file suit to reinstate funding as per AB 22, which was vacated in 2009 in lieu of the state funding formula. Bottom line, it's going to be an interesting springtime in education in Pemberton Township. And I apologize for this being my first time in front of you, but I find myself being here again when we get the news of this state funding with you all. The next item below that is action plans. So we've been beset with many lawsuits and action plans for the past 3 or 4 years. 2 Office of Civil Rights cases, 2 other lawsuits dealing with bullying. So we've been beset with action plans addressing teacher evaluation process, the reporting of the bullying incidences, and then a payback to the federal government of $70,000 in Title I funds. And that invoked us to, and I don't know if that's the right verb, but that put us in a place that we had to look at our policies and procedures. So our policy committee has met, And our policy's pretty good, but our procedures and our regulations are not. So we've spent the last 6 months looking at our policies and procedures, and we're shoring them up and making sure they're from me all the way to across the administration onto the teachers. So that's a big, so what I'm talking about here is no new initiatives, no whiz-bang initiatives here. We've also had to implement new lesson plan formats for teachers. And then also I have listed our new principals at the high school. We're proud to announce we have Eder Joseph at the high school. We have Miss Maureen DeBella at Byzanski, and we have Miss Robin Blue at Harker Wiley. We have a goal with all of our students reading at or above grade level. And right now, well, 2 years ago, we had under 50% of our students reading below grade level, 50%. Our goal is to increase that by 5% each year. And so within 4 years, we'll be over 70%. And we'll revisit that at that time. New schedules, again, fundamentals. You'll see on pages 2 and 3 of your handout. And people ask me why. Well, we found out that we had 7 elementary schools and we had 7 schedules. And so when we look at providing our students with a viable and guaranteed curriculum, one school might have been teaching 45 minutes a day of math, the other school 65 minutes a day of math. So we had to standardize the volume of instructional time per subject area. It doesn't say how teachers teach, but it does give the volume so we can standardize that. So when they filter into or they matriculate into the middle school, they're provided with the same amount of time of instruction. Also at Newcomb School, we were not teaching health. K-5 schools, we're not teaching health. We now have arts, and we're now doing that. That's in the current school year. We now have art and music in kindergarten that was not being brought forth. And we have choir for grades 4th and 5th grade. And it was a wonderful presentation at Dembo School last night. So again, the board has put directives in front of me, and then they're the things that we're going, I think they're fundamental. Now I'm going to move to performance. On page 4, you'll see that we have more kids participating in the advanced placement program. And not only have we have more kids and more kids taking the exams, the percentage of kids passing the exam has also increased. You'll see on pages 5 and 7, in regards to chronic absenteeism is missing 10% of the days you attend. So if you have 180 school days, if you miss 18, you're chronically absent. If you were in school for 90 days, well, if there was not, you came in halfway through the year. If you have 90 days, you missed 9. And so you'll see that we improved we reduced it by 4% district-wide, and then actually a state-wide program actually recognized us, and that article is in your handout. Again, you'll see that in pages 5 to 7. Our preschool program is second to none, and recently garnered a Grow NJ Kids 5-star rating, the first in the state to garner such an award. And then listed on pages 9 through 27 are our park results, and then park results. So while our park scores have improved, there is much more room for improvement, and there are many initiatives revolving around student achievement in that area. Now I'm going to go to the third column, and there are initiatives. Pages 28 and 29, I call that digital conversion and not one-to-one, because it's not just giving a kid a device is not enough. And so 3 years ago, we began giving devices to our high school students, and this current year, we have each middle school student with an iPad, but we're actually marrying up a curriculum with those devices. And so we started this year with our English Language Arts program in grades 6, 7, and 8. And so that curriculum is digital. And the two together work together in a 21st century education. And we're moving into grades 9 to 10 in the spring. And then we'll move forward with other subject areas, budgeting accordingly, because you just can't put all 4 subject areas in at the same time. Page 30. We want our kids to be good and smart. And we've had a big push to embed character education into our school day. And you're going to see changes in the climate of our school with professional development and also activities around focusing on good behavior and then advocating the positive. And so all of our schools have applied for schools of character, and it's not the application, it's the process of reflection of what we're supposed to do to be a school that cares about each other, our students, our adults in that community, and our parents. So again, you'll see some more news about character education in the spring. In page 31, Mike Pinto has done an outstanding job on updating our new website and also building a parent link app to better communication between school and parents. We have a new science curriculum in grades K to 5 that we're going to put into effect next fall. And we'll continue with our professional learning communities. On page 32, our 60-year-old waste treatment plant is at the end of its service life, and we will need to either rebuild a new plant or work to connect its existing municipal sewer lines. So that's a pressing need. That's at the middle school. At Emmons School, we're slated for new windows and a heating system, and that project is out to bid as we speak. On page 33, you will see a proposed layout for what the state had planned for the Dembo Crichton site. As you can see, the Schools Development Authority proposal was to build off of Dembo, a renovation, knock down Crichton, and extend onto the Crichton site. And after about 8 months of persuasion and looking at the cost effectiveness, they acquiesced, and you can see that we've been fortunate enough to be, and again, the Schools Development Authority is responsible for this project, not the Pemberton Township schools. But their plan is moving forward is to have a new school. The whole project is $62 million. And at the top, you'll see the first floor and the second floor. And the list you can see there, 42 brand new classrooms, bathrooms in the pre-K to K. And it's going to be pre-K to second grade will be on the first floor, grades 3 to 5 on the second floor. 4 special education self-contained classrooms, a new art room, vocal music room, an instrumental music room, 14 areas for small group instruction for speech, basic skills, English language learners, a state-of-the-art media center, a multi-purpose room, a cafeteria, and gymnasium. Right now, our schools share in one gym. It's a multi-purpose room, cafeteria. We'll have 3 separate areas, a multi-purpose room, a cafeteria, and a gymnasium. What a focus on community use, by the way. Science demonstration room, focused on agriculture. A computer lab that will not be like your typical computer lab. And then also a STEM, it's a science, technology, engineering, and mathematics project lab. So you can see this is just a few bullets of what's contained in the school. So we're real excited about that. And I put the timeline of endpoints. The district has to vacate Crichton because they're looking for demolition of June 2017. And then they're supposed to be finished demolition by February 2018. And the district moves into a new school, actually the winter of 2020, but I'm looking at the summer of 2021 when they're going to be done. And now you can look at, on page 35, we have been in discussion with the township, not myself, but SDA. And with that, you're looking at the plan. So when you look at page 35, all traffic from the SDA plan, this is not my plan, I'm an educator, but the SDA plan is to have all traffic enter from Junction Road into the complex. For safety concerns, the construction vehicles would stay to the left and school vehicles to the right. You can see the red line. And there'll be a fence, a construction fence for safety. There'll be 10 buses that'll be used for Dembo, because we're going to be keeping Dembo up while the footprint of Crichton will be the whole school. And then Dembo will still be up while they're constructing Crichton. And so, and then there was a concern about egress. And so, when we're looking at egress, we want to separate the traffic between construction and school people, kids, parents, school buses. So you can see they'll enter down into Junction Road onto Learning Way, and the buses right now empty up right in front of the school. You see a yellow line that'll turn around, and then Mike Press, our transportation director, along with Pat Austin, are looking at routes that would not have the buses go down Rancocas Lane to Lakehurst Road, but make a right-hand turn down and then fan it out, not have all the traffic at Berkeley, but Berkeley, and then it'll be Concord and the Horizon for those 10 buses. There again, no bus would go down Rancocas to Lakehurst. We have 10 buses. Our car traffic is we have 49 staff members. So if anybody, as far as questions about cars, then, and then we have between 30 and 40 parents using their cars to drop off or pick up their kids. And also, we're renovating Haynes, because the kids from Crichton, because the buildings get knocked down, will go to Haynes School. And so we're renovating Haynes School for temporary swing space. And we're trying to optimize that learning environment to make sure our kids have everything they need and they don't lose one day of instruction. And that is all my State of the District address. If anybody has any questions.
Thank you. Very, very good presentation. Very informative. Just have a few questions, and others from council might as well.
Okay.
You mentioned the initiatives, the digital conversion.
Yes.
9 and 10 years old. No, I'm sorry, 9th and 10th grade will be next year. When is the digital conversion for 11th and 12th expected?
The 9th and 10th grade language arts will be this upcoming spring, because we're on a block schedule. And then next year would be 11th and 12th grade.
Oh,
So we would look to have 11th and 12th grade. So we should be from 6 to 12 completely digital in language arts.
Okay. You mentioned the Dembo. How many, when the, I'm sorry, when the school is complete, how many students do you anticipate in the school at one time?
It can hold up to 950. So we can, at Dembo and Crichton. We also have a space issue at Byzantsky and Emmons. So there is talk right now, unofficially, of looking at, easing the crowding at Emmons and Byzantsky. But that would be 3-4 years down the road.
And the new bus routes, will the township be kept in the loop on any
That's
changes?
critical to that because of the impact, and Dave and I have talked, and that's critical, and that's why they're working with SDA, and SDA then communicates to Miss Austin, our business administrator, and they're the feedback that we get when SDA meets with our township. What is that going to look like? And obviously we're going to be very sensitive to that. I mean, we don't have any control over cars, but we would have control over the buses. There's 2 bus routes that go into that development now because of kids living in the trailer park and in Blueberry. So there's already 2 bus routes in there now that we know of.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Mr. Cardio?
What grades does Dembo Crichton currently?
Grades 3 to 5.
And we're going to move pre-K to 3 in there?
Pre-K would go to PECEC in the early childhood. We have room, and we would have to bus the 4-year-olds to the early childhood center in the interim.
So we're going to move some of them out of there and move them back up into town?
So the kids that are in Browns Mills that go to Crichton right now for pre-K?
That's what I'm saying. Currently, what?
Currently they go to Crichton, but they would go to, in the interim they would have to be bused to the early childhood center for the 3 years that we're going to need to have swing space.
Okay. That was my question. What was there currently? So what's there now is what's going to be maintained there. Once
Yes,
the school's
it could be.
done. Okay,
Right now it's 3 classrooms of about 45 students. It could be more because the plans call for 6 early childhood. So there's a lot of complaints about 3 and 4-year-olds. So when we'll address that when that time comes, but maybe we can expand the program. We will have the capacity to expand that program when that building's built, because it has 6 early childhood classrooms slated for development. So that could help us on that side of town.
Okay, and one other thing, as far as the traffic pattern that's proposed here, it's an unimproved road. We're going to put all this traffic across an unimproved road?
What road is that?
Rancocas.
Well, again, that's something that's I think out of my purview, and that's something that I think SDA will be working with the township with, as far as a road. I don't know what you mean by unimproved.
It's dirt.
It's a dirt road now?
Dirt road, yeah, up to the point where it meets Weymouth. It's all dirt road.
That's the the SDA is willing to take on that expense.
But I can't see that getting through Pinelands.
Apparently they're working through that right now.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Jason. First off, I know you're fairly new in the position, and this is the second or third briefing that I've attended that you've provided to residents. So I really have to thank you. I personally think you've been doing a phenomenal job.
Thank you.
You really have. But on the new school, I'm sure there's one thing that jumps into my mind, and I'm sure you folks have already looked at it, but I'm still going to ask a stupid question. Security. With some of the things going on in world events today, and I think Sandy
Well,
Hook
that's
and
a
some of the
great
other
question. So if you look at that handout with the traffic patterns,
things. Okay.
and that's the last page, you'll see that the playground will be right in that middle square. So the K to 5 students they'll all be inside there.
Okay.
That's why we like this design. And they have a soccer field and a basketball court. And then the pre-K are external, but there's going to be a 6 to 10 foot fence on the side, on the upper right-hand side there of the building. And then Kathy Devlin, who was our former security chief, met with the folks last year about the development of the double doors. So we'll have the double access, so they have to buzz into one to buzz into the other to get in.
Okay.
So we worked on, internally also with that. So we'll have, I couldn't say exactly, Jack, what it looks like, but it should be the latest and greatest technology in regards to,
I figured you folks had looked into it, but
yeah,
you still
they
asked the question.
they had us look at what we wanted to do there, and we're actually, my problem is what we're doing here, we can do at the other schools. That's my issue. All the things we're going to provide our students at this complex. Then we have Harper Wiley Sack House, and then we also have Emmons and Bazansky. So we're doing all these great things here. So we got to look at how that equity is going to be distributed 3 or 4 years down
Thanks
the road.
for walking me right into my next question.
Okay.
You know where I live,
You live right across.
right across from Emmons. That drop-off area in the front is a nightmare waiting to happen. Parents are dropping off their children in that grassy area in front of the school. A few years ago, the school took action to kind of safeguard our kids by putting a fence up there, a wooden fence. And all that did was telegraph to the parents, okay, now you can park here, so there's even more people parking there. And you're looking at parents who, forgive me, I'm going to get in trouble for saying this, but you're looking at parents that are in their early 20s that aren't very experienced drivers, and are in a congested area with a lot of young kids running around. Like I said, it's a recipe for disaster in my idea, or in my mind. So I'm kind of wondering if you folks have that on your radar for correcting or fixing that in the future.
There's been discussion about it. Again, when I first started with, there was some talk with the mayor about some sidewalks there. There's also talk I heard from Miss Austin and Mrs. Devlin about a parking lot in between, but nothing since last winter did I hear of any project yet, Jack, on that. So, but I can have our security chief, Joe Bowen, look into that, seeing how we can tighten that up.
You live there, you see it every day, and it's just a big concern. And honestly, I'm surprised something hasn't happened yet.
I'll have Joe Bowen look into that.
Appreciate it, sir.
Okay.
But thank you. I really do appreciate everything you do for us. I really do.
Thank you. All right, again, thank you, and I apologize for not being here sooner. I want to wish everybody a happy holiday.
Same to you.
Thank you. Same to you.
Other resolutions? Resolution number 242-2016, recognition of the dedication of public service by Lieutenant James Wayman. Whereas James Wayman has served with distinction in the Pemberton Township Police Department for over 22 years, and whereas James Wayman, during his tenure with Pemberton Township, has given of his time and knowledge and service to the residents of the Township of Pemberton. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Township Council of the Township of Pemberton, assembled in the public session on this 21st day of December 2016, that the Township Council does hereby commend James Wayman for his contributions and dedicated service to the Township of Pemberton. Be it further resolved that a copy of this resolution shall be presented to James Wayman on behalf of the Town Council. Is there a motion to approve resolution number 242-2016?
So moved.
Second.
Sunshine, if you will please poll the council.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson? Yes. Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Mr. Wayman? On behalf of the Pemberton Township Town Council, I'd like to thank you for your leadership and your dedication to Pemberton Township. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
It's been my honor to serve the town. I just want to thank everybody for recognizing me. It's been my honor to serve the township and be a member of the Pemberton Township. Thank you.
Thank you.
Please, you want to come up and say?
I just want to, Jim was, Lieutenant Wayman was a major part in our agency becoming an accredited police department, and his leadership and service to the town is really appreciated. So much so that I asked him to stay a little longer, he'll nod his head with that. And we really do appreciate everything you did, Jim. And we're sorry to see you go, but we wish you the best of luck.
Public comment? Yes, please. And if you will, please sign and state your name.
Sorry, yes, sir.
Where you sign in at?
There's...
The paper there.
Sure.
Oh, is it...
I'll just make believe now.
You know what? The superintendent might have
He was the last
taken
one
it
up
with his
here.
presentation.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank you.
Here you go.
Oh, yeah, he probably grabbed the link.
It's a blessing to be up here. It's a blessing to be a part of y'all's town. My name is Robert Bowler. The mayor married me and my wife almost 5 years ago. I have a lot of questions to ask. And I hate to see you go. As far as the town goes, as for Christie goes, as far as our taxes are in the town is pretty high. As for we needing stuff, I got 5 kids. Sure, and then Mr. Christie's going to take money from us, or we can't do nothing about it. It is what it is. What I'd like to see is more help within the system. That if we're going to hurt, we need to hurt as a group. As being separated by we needing something else or needing a new school, because we do need stuff like this. We always need it. And we're going to need it in the future. What we need now is a tax rate. What we have the deficit that we're in, and how we're spending our money is hurting our families very much. I would like to see any kind of help within the system. Kind of fill it out. I got to put my address too.
Is it the address or telephone number?
No, just what part of the town are you from?
District 3 or
Browns Mills.
Browns Mills? Okay.
yeah. And another thing is we do need security around our schools. We do need somebody for the bullying or anything like that.
But we need our officers. We need all the positions for our officers filled. We need law and order within the town. K-9 units for the drugs that are going around. I got 5 kids. I'm from 15 to 1. I'd like to see more police officers walking the beat. Not just sitting in the parking lot at the Acme, but out riding our streets. I'd like to see them more often as a community figure, because that's our inner city, is a community figure. When I came here, I'm from the South, and they said this is a town. They said this is not a town. And for me, if you can't go outside in your backyard and pee, then you got a problem. It is a town. Somebody's going to see you. Somebody's going to say something. It's a given. And it was a blessing to come up here and speak to y'all. I hope that anything, I was told that my saying something might not matter, but everybody's voice counts. And I hope that some way that mine will count with everybody. And it's a blessing being here. Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
sir.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank
Before
you.
you go, because you mentioned the police department, I think now would probably be an excellent chance for you to possibly grab Chief Jantis and maybe discuss any issues with him that you may see in the township from a security standpoint.
What my figure was, I was told all the positions what to build. If you're going to take money and try to build something else and do something else within the community, our police force needs to be thought of first. And all these empty homes around here, if you're going to spend money out on stuff versus the battered women and homeless people or parents living in your basements and stuff, there's over 300 empty homes in this county. Before I spend a dime on anything, I'd be fixing to plate the town up first. Before I start getting anything from anybody and started doing it first. It's the town first. It's not the outside. We do need help on a lot of things. If Christie's a problem, then let's get with Christie. Come next year, we're having a new president. Is the schools that you want to go to, it's supposed to be possible that you go to the schools of your choice. Next year is a whole different ball game. And what we got going on from the past, we have to look for the future. We cannot leave our elders of the town behind and pick up from our students in front of us, because you're leaving behind the people that built this town. This is a fishing, and this has been a small town. It's never been a big town. Where I come from, they lock the front door of the church. When you come into church, the front door is locked. People bring the plates. We all sit down and eat, and we stay in church all day. I can't throw the first rock. I've been on the wrong side of the fence most of my life. And when I changed, I want to make a change for my kids. The only way I can make a change for my kids is to have a good heart and be able to speak to everybody and let everybody know that we can make a difference. How big of a deficit we in right now? I was told 40 million. Close to it, 20. If we're in any kind of deficit.
Municipalities need to have balanced budgets. There's no deficit.
My taxes are $4,500 a year just on the taxes. That's a mortgage in Georgia. Any way you look at it.
Dennis, that wasn't a legal question, so.
Anyway, it's a blessing to meet y'all folks, be able to talk to you. Y'all get to see a lot more of it. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Seeing no other hands. Consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered to be routine by the Township Council and will be enacted by one motion. Should a council member wish to discuss a consent agenda item separately, that item can be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence on the regular agenda. Council, are there any items from the consent agenda you would like discussed?
Can I start?
Jack?
243, 2016. Under new business A, number 1, public works purchase of the trailer. Under new business B, the trailer parks, specifically the Hilltop. And then I'm going to also have questions on the bill list, but that's not under the consent agenda.
Let's just go with all with new business.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Sunshine?
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Jack, you requested to pull 243-2016.
Right, this is for, I'm guessing the Bobcat?
Yes.
And it will be utilized by the Water Department?
Water Division.
Well, the Water Division will be purchasing it through the Water Division, and primarily it'll be a piece of equipment that would be used by the Water Division. That doesn't preclude from being used by any of our Public Works divisions
And the funding on this is from our capital improvements,
in the Water Division. Right.
from the Water Division that we borrowed $1 million last year, right? Roughly $1 million
Oh, for the
for the well?
for the well 11 water treatment plant, roughly, yes.
That's where this is coming from?
No, this isn't coming from that funding. This is coming from the budgeted capital outlay funding that's in that department or division.
But this Bobcat will probably be used by Public Works for roads and stuff like that.
Probably not as much for roads. It's going to be a small piece of equipment to be used for roads. It's more of a like a trencher, you know.
I know what a Bobcat
bucket,
is.
You know, well, Bobcat is the name, so it could be multiple pieces of equipment, but the excavator is the type of equipment that it is, and it'll be used for digging trenches. And laying
Usually a
pipe.
trencher, it's a different piece of equipment.
Well, it depends on what type of pipe you're laying.
Okay.
And even more importantly, it sounds like there's a need for this piece of equipment.
It is a piece of equipment that our supervisor in the Water Division has said would make their lives a lot easier.
A lot easier.
What do they currently
More
use?
efficient. They use a backhoe, and sometimes that's actually too big for the projects that they're doing. This is a much smaller piece of equipment than a backhoe. It's not the big, like we have an excavator in Public Works now, but it's a huge piece of equipment. This is basically like a mini excavator. It's a smaller version of that can be taken into yards and side streets and work along the shoulder of the roads, as opposed to the bigger equipment that doesn't need to be there all the time.
And the hauler under new business, that will be used, if purchased, that will be used to haul the excavator?
Transport, yeah.
Transport.
Trailer.
That's why I pulled both of them, Jason.
Yeah,
Figured
I was-
they work hand in hand.
Okay. Jack, did you have any more questions on that one?
No, it pretty much answered my questions.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 243-2016?
So moved.
Is there a second?
A second.
Sunshine?
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
No.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Jack, the hauler under new business A1. Did you have anything else?
No, it's the trailer for the Bobcat that you just approved, so
Right.
you know you're going to need to get her around, I guess, so that answers my questions.
Is there a motion to approve new business A1 Public Works purchase of the trailer?
So moved.
Second.
Sunshine?
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Reluctantly, yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Mr. Cartier, Public Works, new business 2A2.
Yes, this is for disposal of asbestos on 19 South Lake Shore, a dwelling that's going to be
It's for getting a
demolished.
professional company that does asbestos removal, which is a condition precedent before we can actually demolish the structure.
Okay, my only question is on Pernaco's bid spec. They're calling for 100 square feet, removal of 100 square feet of outside exterior siding. That's an area of 5 by 20 feet. just don't want to see us get hit with an extra.
Apparently, there's only a portion of the product on that dwelling. I don't know that the whole house has asbestos siding on it.
If I may, before they bid, they actually go out and take a look at the property to be able to determine which products on the building may have asbestos and which don't. And
I would hope so.
Yeah, and
just for reference, we get these bids on all our buildings that we've been doing work on and we're tearing down. And historically, and I have no doubt in this case also, this company comes in well below 50% of anybody else. An example, I believe the last one, he was under 5,000, and the next company was like 100,000. So, I mean, we still haven't figured out how this guy does it, but it's, you know, I don't think the other companies have neither.
I don't question that. My concern, like I said, I want to be sure. I mean, if it's 1,000 square feet in the house, that's a pretty big. That house is a little bit bigger. The siding on the outside is going to be a lot more than what the flooring is, and it's 10% of what the flooring is.
what I can tell you that we will do, if the quantity ends up being different, we will come back to council with that. How about if we do that?
What do you mean come back to council with?
Come back, we'll have them confirm that this is the amount, and if it's going to be more, they're going to have to tell us up front before. And if it's going to be more, we'll have to evaluate it and then come back to council before we have them do it.
Okay.
If it changes substantially, or at all, actually, it shouldn't change at all, really.
I agree.
He went in and evaluated the property, and like I say, he's been good in the past, but if it does change, we will look at putting it back out. And that's all, and let somebody else have a shot at it.
And if I may, this particular company has done it in 3 or 4 buildings, and they've actually never come back for any additional costs.
Okay.
So.
I have no further questions.
Is there a motion to approve new business A2, Public Works purchase of asbestos removal services?
I'll approve it with the stipulations that administration gave us.
I'll second with that same stipulation.
Sunshine?
Mr. Carnier?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Jack, new business B?
This is for the 2017 annual license renewals, trailer park licenses. It has Pine View Terrace, Hilltop Mobile Village, Lakeshore Mobile Village, and Bel Air Mobile Park. And I went through my package. 1, 2, 3. I have 3 of the 4. Missing is Hilltop.
Hilltop just came in and paid theirs.
Okay, the other thing I have, you folks have been doing this a lot longer than I have, but I walked around a lot in the town within the past year, talked to a lot of residents and stuff. I was actually over in Hilltop Mobile Village area right after the shooting that happened over there a few months ago. Some of the buildings or trailers that are in that facility are just terrible. I mean, they're falling in on themselves, they're fire hazards. They're just a hazard in themselves. I mean, I don't know what kind of animals could be living in there or whatever, but they just are, they're an eyesore, and they are a public hazard. So, in good faith, I really can't approve that unless somebody goes in there and cleans that place up a little bit.
The renewals are based on the municipal fees and the things such as solid waste, the bills to be paid, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So that's
up is the owner's responsibility.
yeah, that's what the renewals are based on.
It's still got to be based, his code violations are still valid, right? It still should be up to code.
It should be up to code, but I think it's two separate things.
Well, I
That's for
think
approving this,
the
it's not
issue
approving.
Councilman Tompkins is raising is whether or not there are code violations.
Correct.
That's not really a licensing issue, it's obviously a valid concern, it's just a separate thing. I would refer it to code, I don't know if there's been an inspection and what the status is, but that would seem to be the remedy to enforce it via code.
I still can't support renewing the license.
I'm just laying out.
I know. I'm just letting you know, from what I've seen back in there, I can't do that.
I hear your concerns, and I actually broached that same concern. How many people are you going to displace from those homes?
It's a good point, Ken.
Yeah. Only because it was raised to me some years back. Now,
then maybe we
I
can...
actually have a suggestion here, because they have to have a license to be able to sell these vehicles also, because they're vehicles.
Mm-hmm.
If I could bear with me,
Sure.
Bel Air, are they up to date on their fees?
Bel Air is not up to date. They owe on water and sewer. Amy said you can approve the license, but it will be withheld until everything is up.
And it's perpetual with them. Every year, it's the same situation.
Every year.
Now, and this is where the concern is of not approving the license, where you displace the residents. But where you can enforce it a little bit is not renew their ability to sell the trailers.
Well, can you give them a provisional license? Like 90 days?
Well, that's what she's saying.
Okay.
It'll be held. You won't displace anything. You'll still be required to bring their fees up to date.
Or code compliant.
Exactly.
Okay. If we do something like that, at least we have some kind of leverage. If we just just approve it, then we don't have any leverage.
I believe our leverage is we're giving them their license to resell the trailers and not put any new tenants in those trailers.
Because I know a couple of them I saw, there's no way anyone would ever buy those. They're going to sit there until they burn down or disintegrate into the earth.
What has our code official been out there at all?
Couldn't tell you.
But we're saying that there's
nobody living
code
in them?
issues, but unless we actually had a code, or unless did you happen to write down any of the addresses that you saw? Okay.
And the ones you saw were vacant, wouldn't that go under our vacant ordinance? Our vacant ordinance, if they've been vacant for a while?
You have to look into that. That's a close call.
They're vacant.
Yes. Just a question whether or not it applies to a motorhome or not. I don't know. Off the top of my head, yes, I understand.
Well, if you talk to any of the owners of these parks, they'll tell you these are not trailers.
Right.
After, I want to say 68, they're now mobile homes.
Yes.
They're actually classified differently.
I was admonished once by one of the owners in another town about that.
And I've seen some of them in town, they're really nice homes.
Yeah,
They are
some
very,
of
very
them-
nice
some
homes.
of them in that particular park are very nice.
Yep.
It just depends on if you go to the left side or the right side.
Right.
Or all the way in the back.
Yeah.
If I may, what I'll do, I'll speak to Dave Benedetti at Code Enforcement and talk to him about how regularly we send Code Enforcement to look at those neighborhoods as opposed to other neighborhoods. And maybe at the next meeting I'll be able to let you know what the plan is to have folks at least sort of do at least initially some drive-by and to determine whether there are any complaints that we've received with regard to specific properties.
As well as the vacant property.
Yeah, that's fine. But as far as Bel Air, like I said, they're perpetual every year with their not keeping up to date on their fees, their water fees, their taxes, and so forth and so on. And like I said, I would not put anybody out on the street, especially when this comes up, and it comes up right in wintertime, every year. So where we have leverage is to take away their ability to resell those trailers.
Sunshine, you might know this. Is there any, when they're late with these payments, is there any penalty?
There are late fees that are incurred. I know the tax collector's office told me this afternoon when I called that if they are not up to date with their water by next week, they're going to add a $1,500 fee on top of it.
So and historically they've been paying these?
Every year.
Okay.
Pretty much every month. They're late by month.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the 2017 license renewals?
I do move with the caveat that our concerns are being addressed.
Well, I can't assure you at this point that we can address them under your concerns, because I just had a discussion with Dennis. The properties in question are private properties. So for our code enforcement to actually just arbitrarily ride through and go through the entire property, street by street, to go do code enforcement may not be appropriate. I don't know that we can do that. Andy might be able to tell us more, but maybe that's something that council may want to consider as a condition of these licenses and establishments within the community, that we do have consent to go in and do inspections so that they are up to our codes that the rest of our residents are held to.
Mayor, otherwise you may need like Benedetti may need like an administrative search warrant or something.
Correct, correct.
Well, I would say an annual review. I wouldn't give them, yeah, I wouldn't do that, because you're intruding on their liberties.
Well, we review all of our residents in the township
From the street.
daily from the street. Well, we can't even go into the streets of these mobile home parks to do inspections from the streets, because the streets are private property within these developments. So for us to just send a car into their entrance and go right around into their park, some of them go back pretty deep, would be inappropriate. We're not allowed to just go enforce that way. It's private property. So it might be something that council may want to consider in the future, maybe in allowing these licenses, maybe a condition of access by town officials for inspections that all our other residents are, held to.
Because talking to the people back in some of these places, it was a concern I heard not just once, but a few times. So if I've heard it, a few times, then I'm sure other people that I didn't talk to have the same concerns.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I've been in all these parks many times over the years, and I can tell you there's probably only one that I think we all know which one it is, that you can go in and probably not find a violation. It's impeccable. And the other three, some areas are better than others within them.
So maybe we ought to direct Mr. Baird to do some research on that topic, because it sounds like that would be a good idea.
In terms of property access?
Yes. My motion still stands.
Okay. Got it? Andy, you good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I was just taking notes.
Okay. Is there a second?
Bless you.
That's pretty much what.
I'll go ahead and second it since I pulled it.
Sunshine?
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes.
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Allen?
Yes. Engineers report. Is there any discussion for the December 21st, 2016 report? The bill list dated December 16th, 2016. Is there a motion?
I have two questions on that bill list, Jason.
Okay.
First one is on page 8. And it is the very bottom section, 6-01-28-370-000-672 Rec Services Holiday Appreciation Day. And if you go probably about halfway down the line there, there's a line item there. My eyes are failing me, sorry. 16-02-689 for Jocko's Photography. Pictures with Santa Claus, $1,000. Who's the owner of Jocko's Photography? Is it Councilman-elect Garner?
I believe he does the pictures with Santa. I don't know if that's his business.
Okay. And then there's another bill for the same company on page 16 under Community Outreach, and it is Jocko's Photography, Pictures with Santa Claus for another $500.
What's the question with it, Jack?
Yeah, you know, if Jocko's Photography really is owned by a councilman-elect that's going to be sworn in here in about 2 weeks, it may not be illegal, but I do think I know it's something I wouldn't do.
I can tell you if that is his business, if he's the owner of that business, we won't be using his services after January 1st. That would probably be appropriate going forward.
Well, for this bill list, my conscience, I cannot approve those two.
Because he's the councilman-elect?
Yes, ma'am.
Jack, do you have anything else?
That's it.
You should mention yours.
Should I abstain from those votes now, or just mention it and then ask for the vote, and then...
Well, do you want to abstain?
Yeah, well, page 3, police department, and page 11. Yeah, and then page 11 is the section.
I would just abstain on
On the entire bill list, or just those?
No, just those.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the bill list?
Yes.
Just for the record, Mr. Tompkins, if you want to vote yes, subject to just delete no as those two items,
I vote no for those two items,
that would
but
be
yes
the-
for the rest of the bill
that would probably
list.
be the administrative way to handle it. I'm sorry,
No.
I interrupted.
And that's what I just said that. I hope that's a fine.
Is there a motion to approve the bill list?
I make a motion to approve the bill list.
I'll second with the exception of the bills relating to the fire department, which I will be abstaining from.
Sunshine?
Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Mr. Cartier?
Yes.
Mr. Tompkins?
Yes, with the exception of those two that I pulled.
Mr. Allen?
Yes, with the exception of the bills listed on page 3 under the police department. All of those, as well as page 11. The section 6-01-31-440-000-605, I will be abstaining to those as a result of my new job.